Welcome to the biggest deal I ever sold. Today, I'm talking to Thomas Wright about his $30 million deal, along with how he once beat Tiger Woods in a round of golf and why it pays to get shot down 10 times before getting yes once.
The biggest deals in real estate and the stories behind them. Hosted by serial entrepreneur Bill Svoboda. Brought to you by Close Simple, the trusted name in real estate communication, who asks, how well does your title and escrow company communicate with you during the closing process? And now, the biggest deal I ever sold.
What's up, Thomas? Thank you for being on the biggest deal I ever sold. It's great to have you on, and it's great to see you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I've always wanted to be on, so this is kind of a dream come true. It's great to be with you.
You've done some amazing things in your 20-year career so far, and we're going to get to the biggest deal you ever sold, the $30 million deal. That just, $30 million, it just sounds amazing when I say it.
Why can't it happen every day, right? I can't wait to talk about it. It was a life-changing experience for sure.
Well, let's do this. Before we get to the $30 million deal, let's talk about the first deal you ever got, $355,000. Could you go down memory lane with me, and let's start. What did that deal feel like? Tell me about that deal.
I honestly think it was more satisfying than maybe the $30 million deal. It was so invigorating to have somebody trust me with their home. I had that true day one mentality where I wanted to just do everything perfectly. I wanted the client to think that I did a great job for them. I remember that feeling like it was yesterday. And I talk a lot about that day one mentality, that Jeff Bezos philosophy. And I try to harness that same feeling every time I do a transaction. But the day of the closing, I just remember thinking, is this real? Like, I'm going to get paid a commission to do what I love to do. I can still remember the feeling like it was yesterday. From
$355,000 to $30 million, there's a big gap there. I heard about when you got started in real estate, the rule that you had where you were going to get shot down 10 times before you would go home that day. You wouldn't leave the office or your car, for that matter, until you called 10 people, get shot down, and then basically now you can go home because you knew that you put your day's work in. Can you talk about that, like the 10 shot down rule?
Yeah, you know what? I realized early on that sales is kind of a numbers game, right? If you're not talking to enough people, you're not going to generate enough interest in what you're selling. And if you want to get listings, that means you got to be talking to a lot of people about whether they want to sell and if they want to sell with you. So I realized that getting rejected was going to be a part of the business. So I developed what I called my no quota. And I had to have a certain amount of no's or rejections every single day. And if I didn't have that no quota, by the time I got home, I would stop at the end of my street. There's a big pine tree. It's kind of a dead part of the street. And I'll take you there sometime. And I would sit in my car and I would think, okay, I got to get 8 more no's before I go home. And when you're trying to get rejected, it's actually pretty easy. But ironically, I found it kind of difficult when I would call people and ask them if I could help them buy an investment property or list a property they had. People were actually pretty stoked that I was thinking of them. So what I learned by that is that sometimes we're our own greatest enemy, right? We insulate ourselves from rejection and we don't want to fail, and that's natural, but it's in the failure that the success comes.
I had a business mentor years ago when I was younger in business. He railed me out for not preparing to win.
I would add on to that too. I was an NCAA athlete. I was a full ride scholarship athlete, and I had the benefit as an 18-year-old kid going to a sports psychologist who taught you how to compete and how to get into that winning frame of mind that you talk about. And I learned at a young age that doesn't just happen.
Okay, so wait, you just said something amazing there. You were an NCAA Division I athlete. What did you do? What sport?
Golf.
Golf. Tell me about your golf game here.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no. At a young age, I started playing competitive golf. I won my first junior golf tournament when I was 6. I grew up on a golf course, and I just kind of migrated out to the backyard. And for my 6th birthday, my dad, gave me this little junior set of clubs. And that's where I could be found really for the next 15 years of my life.
You started with the golf club in your hand at 6. It's reminiscent of Tiger Woods. I feel like I'm talking to Tiger Woods here. The Tiger Woods of real estate.
But I did compete against Tiger Woods in college.
Wait, why don't you start with that? Why didn't we not start this interview by saying I competed against Tiger Woods?
Yeah, and in one of those tournaments I beat him. It'd be the only thing I'll ever be able to say. But Edgewood Country Club, Lake Tahoe, I had some good rounds there. But look, golf is an amazing sport. It taught me a lot about life, and it's a lot like selling real estate because you're part of a team and a brokerage. You want everybody to succeed, but the success is really individual effort by individual effort. And I was also taught, look, and this is back to that no quote of sitting outside looking at the sign when you lose. You have to own your failures and your losses. And there's no one to blame but yourself. If you're not succeeding, you have to take responsibility for that. You can't just say it's me when you win and it's everybody else when I lose. You got to take the good with the bad, and that takes a big person with a lot of security and a lot of vulnerability.
I love it. We could talk about golf all day, and that's a great story. Let's bring it back to real estate here. The reason why everybody's watching this, let's talk about the biggest deal you ever sold. $30 million. $30 million. What did it feel like waking up that day knowing you're going to be closing on a $30 million property?
It was surreal. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was the end of a very long process, but man, in my heart, I was so grateful. It was kind of the culmination of a long sales career that's still going. But, to wake up one day and realize, wow, I'm kind of at the top of my game and I'm going to close a big transaction and both parties are stoked. And it was really humbling, but I just remember feeling gratitude. I was so grateful that it was me and not somebody else.
Okay, talk to me about the property here. Like, what was it? $30 million. What is $30 million purchase?
Well, there was a component of a very high-end restaurant. Some homes, luxury homes that were scattered on this estate, and then just an incredible riparian property along one of our creeks in the state of Utah that flows year-round at the mouth of one of the most incredible canyons you've ever seen, with granite cliffs, and if you have a telescope or binoculars, you can see mountain goats up there. Just an incredible piece of land with a beautiful restaurant, complete with a vineyard, and then some luxury homes that surrounded it. And I think that's why they called me. They wanted somebody that understood real estate, but they also wanted somebody that had the business acumen that could understand business and the FF&E components of a business transaction.
So walk me back to the start of this transaction here. Start with when you first met the person. What did that meeting, where was that? What was the venue? What was the setting? How did this connection happen?
Well, I got a call and they said, hey, we are in the process of evaluating real estate professionals to liquidate this property for us. And your name has come up along with a couple of your colleagues in your firm, and we're going to be interviewing people. Would you be interested in coming out and having a discussion? And it was interesting. The very first reaction I had in my head was, wow, do people buy things like that? Will that even sell? I came up with all these reasons why maybe it wouldn't work. And then I quickly corrected myself and said, of course they would. And you're the perfect person to do it. And that's where that mental preparation and that vulnerability really came in.
Talk to me about the people that were selling it. Like, were you nervous going to that? Like, if I'm walking into a sales meeting knowing that this is the biggest listing of my life so far, I might be a little nervous, sweat on the palms. What do you like walking into that meeting?
This is where really nervousness, you have to understand nervousness, right? Nervousness for me is when I'm unprepared or I'm out of my league and I can't get it done. I felt a little anxiety and a little pressure. I mean, I was a little anxious and I wanted to do well and I'm trying to anticipate. That's a very natural thing, I think, for people to have. The heart rate goes up a little, the breathing's a little faster, but that's where that preparation, I think, as an athlete and all the things that I had done before, I realized, I'm going to channel all this energy into just doing a great job. How
did you pitch that big of a deal? You walk in there, you got the anxiety, your heart's pounding a little, you channeled that, but talk to me about the pitch. What makes a pitch worth $30 million? How do you get that deal?
I think it's about having a quiver full of so many arrows that you can reach back and grab the right arrow because they're all different and shoot the right arrow at the target. So for me, it was about asking the right questions and asking them, What did they want to see from a brokerage? What did they want to see from the person representing them? Where did they think the buyer was going to come from? And then reaching back and saying, I can do that, and I can find that buyer, and I have the marketing plan for that. And I think that's where the preparation that I talked about earlier really comes in. I probably had, I don't remember, 6 or 7 different marketing plans in my bag ready to go based upon what I heard from them and what they wanted. So I didn't go with this like preconceived notion. I went with a myriad of variables and then was able to pull the right arrow and shoot it at the target. And I think really that's why I was successful. I didn't go in with a pitch in mind. I went in ready to make a bunch of different pitches depending on what they were looking for and what they think they needed to have success. Because I believe that the seller always knows the property better than anybody else. And the best thing we can do is listen to them. If we can ask them the right questions, they will tell us all we need to know to be successful.
You have a great meeting there. What happens next? You get the listing. Like, how long did they take to decide on you over the other agents? And like, what did that
I mean, it was only a few days, and they said, you know what, this is the direction we're going. This is who we want to represent us. We're ready to roll. And so that was really positive. And I think that made a big difference.
Was there ever a point where this deal almost fell through?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, I mean, look, in a transaction that's as complicated with the business, the real estate, the homes, the water rights, just, there was a fault line that ran through the ground. There was significant challenges along the way. And really, that's where mindset and just having that can-do attitude of, hey, your concern's legitimate. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's learn everything we can about it. And then let's explore solutions. And let's find a mutually beneficial solution that will work for everybody.
How long did that take? How long was that process?
It was about a 4-month process.
Let me ask you this. Your psyche during that, like emotionally, what are you for 4 months? What does it feel like? And the other question is your wife. What's she feeling like over those 4 months? Like what's she used to watch you at the end of the driveway or at the end of the street, calling. Like, what's she doing with you at the kitchen table every night? Like, what does life look like?
Oh, you know what? She's so grounded. That's probably my greatest secret weapon. She's a great listener. She's so grounded and has such an amazing perspective that it brings me down to where I need to be. She did a lot, probably better than I did, but I will tell you that it gets back to that sports psychology analysis in golf, and that is it's just one shot at a time. You don't think about the shot you hit on the last hole. You can't get it back, and you can't think about the one you want to hit in a few holes. All you can do is hit the one where you are right now.
Well, Thomas, thanks for sharing with us here about the biggest deal you ever sold. That's incredible. And I just think like you've lived a really good life so far. And it sounds like you're building a great business and it's impressive. If there's something that you just wanted to leave people with though, is there one tip? Like when you think about your biggest deal, what are the little things that got you there? Is there one takeaway that anybody watching can just grab and apply?
I promise you, if you think you can do it, you can do it. Believe in yourself. Don't look at the market that you're in or in the business you're in or in any endeavor that you go into and think that you don't belong. If I can rise to the top in luxury real estate against the people that I've had to compete with, then anybody can do it. You just have to believe in yourself and you have to work hard. You have to have a plan and you have to be relentless. But don't ever feel failure. Just go after it. Go get it. And if you come up short, look yourself in the mirror, give yourself a high five and move on.